Gender inequality affects many aspects of millions of people's lives, from education, health, and economic opportunity to political participation and human rights. It remains one of the most pressing issues in Africa. Porticus is a philanthropic organization that aims to create a just and sustainable future where human dignity flourishes. Its intention is to strengthen the systems that make up the social fabric of communities so people in vulnerable positions have the opportunity to flourish. Porticus partnered with Gallup to explore the various dimensions of gender inequality in 5 countries in Eastern and Southern Africa: Kenya, South Africa, Tanzania, Uganda, and Zimbabwe. Through recent quantitative data from the Gallup World Poll, information from international agencies such as the United Nations and World Bank, and qualitative in-depth interviews with residents in each of the 5 countries conducted expressly for this project. Though much of sub-Saharan Africa has experienced rapid economic growth in the past 20 years, the region continues to suffer from high poverty rates and long-lasting developmental challenges like infrastructure deficiencies, skilled labor shortages, and poor governance in many countries. In-depth interview participants noted that fundamental gender disparities and inequalities shape the lives of women in their societies. Reducing gender-based violence and increasing women's safety are critical priorities. At least 1/4 of women in each country of focus said they have experienced intimate partner violence in their lifetime, with this figure reaching 45% in Uganda. The 2021 Gallup World Poll found that less than half of women in South Africa, 27%, Zimbabwe, 35%, Kenya, 40%, and Uganda, 45%, felt safe walking alone at night in the city or area where they live, well below the worldwide average of 64%. Research and in-depth interviews show that while some progress has been made toward ensuring women enjoy greater political representation, gender parity has not been achieved. Women are less likely to raise concerns to local officials or be aware of their legal rights. Gallup data show that women are less likely than men to voice their opinions to officials. Results from the 2021 World Poll reveal that men were about twice as likely as women to say they had voiced such opinions in Kenya, 33% versus 18% respectively, and Tanzania, 20% versus 10%, with notable gaps also in South Africa, 33% versus 25%, Zimbabwe, 26% versus 20%, and Uganda, 42% versus 37%. In-depth interview participants of both genders commonly expressed the sentiment that women and young girls did not know the legal rights available to them. Across the 5 countries studied, there are significant gender gaps in employment and access to financial resources. Women are less likely than men to work full-time for employers, jobs that are most likely to be in the formal sector. But even when women do enter the formal workforce, they face wage gaps and limited opportunities for advancement. In Kenya, Tanzania, and Zimbabwe, women were significantly less likely than men to have an account at a financial institution or a mobile money service provider. Findings from the World Bank's 2021 Findex database show that a majority of women in each country, except Tanzania, said they had an account at a financial institution or a mobile money service provider. While these gaps have largely closed in Uganda and South Africa, significant gender gaps in account ownership remain in Kenya, Tanzania, and Zimbabwe. Many in-depth interview participants cited the importance of education in achieving gender equality. However, attendance in secondary education varies across the 5 countries, and more information is needed about gender gaps in education quality. UNESCO statistics indicate the out-of-school rate, that is, percentage not enrolled, for primary school-age children across sub-Saharan Africa fell from 40% in 2000 to 23% in 2020. Further, while girls were more likely than boys to be out of primary school in 2000, in 2020, the rates for girls and boys were identical. In recent decades, the need to engage with faith communities around development issues, including gender equality issues, has been increasingly recognized in the international development community. The influence of religious traditions is more prevalent in sub-Saharan Africa than in almost any other global region. Gallup's 2021 World Poll found that most adults region-wide, 93%, said religion was an important part of their daily lives, including 95% of women. In in-depth interviews, many women expressed a desire for greater rights and better treatment, while some religious participants preferred traditional roles based on their religious teachings. Gender inequality is a complex issue. African respondents recognize the need to eliminate chronic and widespread gender disparities, acknowledging that they limit the potential of millions of African women and slow the region's social and economic progress. With declining birth rates and improved education for girls, significant economic growth is possible throughout the continent if women's empowerment laws are better designed and enforced. Results from this study suggest further research could help policymakers and women's advocates in these areas better understand which types of interventions are most likely to succeed in promoting social and economic change. Download our report to learn more about Porticus's work.